The book of Hebrews was written to a bunch of people who were going through some really difficult times as an encouragement for them to keep Jesus central and to remember the incredible nature of who he is and what he did. It's a really good book for us too, to remember that in all of the things that we go through, we must keep Jesus central. Now, the book of Hebrews is essentially written in 5 different sections. The first 4 do a comparison of Jesus to something that had come before within the Old Testament tradition, says that Jesus is better than these particular things, and then there's a warning within that particular section for that the people should pay attention to that. Remember that because Jesus is better than these things, that he has the supremacy over them, well then we need to pay attention to him more than these other things. And then the final section, the 5th section of the book, issues into a general kind of a concluding warning or a challenge, an encouragement for the people because of the confidence we have of who Jesus is and all of the things that he has done for us. Then we should live out of that confidence in our everyday lives. Now, to be honest, we don't really know who wrote this book, nor do we really know who he wrote it to. We do know through some cues within the book itself that it is written by someone who is extremely familiar with the Old Testament, especially the Greek translation of the Old Testament, because that's usually what the author quotes from. We know that it's a he because he reveals himself as a male, and then we also know that it was someone who didn't have direct contact with Jesus because he talks about sharing faith that he received from others who had been with Christ. And so it's not someone like James or Peter or John, nor is it Paul necessarily, because Paul reveals that he had a special revelation of Christ, that he actually met Jesus on the way to Damascus. And so it's probably not these people. There have been some others that have been suggested for this. One was Barnabas, another is Apollos, and we don't really know. But what we do know is that it was someone who was masterful in Greek, totally understood the Old Testament scriptures, and had extreme confidence in the supremacy and the sufficiency of Jesus. It is also highly likely that this book was written before AD 70, before the destruction of the temple and Jerusalem. Mainly because as the author goes through how Jesus is superior to the tabernacle, the temple, and the sacrificial system, he makes absolutely no reference to the fact that the temple has been destroyed and the sacrificial system has been ended. And it would make a whole lot of sense for him to say, these things have been ended because Jesus has come and he is the way that we have to go forward. So while it is a bit of an argument from silence, I think it's a pretty good one, and it indicates that this book probably was written before AD 70, which leans a huge amount of credibility to the statement that those who were a part of the early church knew right from the beginning who Jesus was and what he had come to do, and that he was the ultimate representative of God here with us, and that he made the perfect sacrifice to make his way and to make our way back to the Father. Now, the main theme of the book of Hebrews is the supremacy and sufficiency of Jesus, the Messiah, as the revealer and mediator of God's grace within the world. Now, that's a pretty big concept, and those are big words that are loaded with theological weight, but essentially it means that there is nothing that is better at revealing God to us than Jesus, and there is nothing more that we need than Jesus in order for us to get back to God, to be accepted back as a part of his family. And so because of that, the author of the book of Hebrews encourages people to cling to that truth, to cling to that faith, to live out of the confidence that we have because of who Jesus is and what he has done for us. And so that brings us to the key verses here in the book of Hebrews. The key verses, I think, are from Hebrews chapter 10, verses 23 and 24. He says, "Let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for he who promised is faithful. And let us consider how we can spur one another on toward love and good deeds." This hope that we have because of Jesus is something that needs to be clung to, something that we need to work at maintaining a deep and tight connection to. It's not something that we can say at one point in our lives, yeah, I believe this, and then move on to all kinds of other things. We need to work at keeping it central, which is also why we need to have a particular community that continues to encourage us, to spur us on to new and good things, to live out of that sense of confidence that we have. So may you go into this weekend thinking about clinging to the confidence you have because of the supremacy and sufficiency of Jesus, that He is the best way for us to see the Father, and He is all we need in order to get back to the Father.